The sun had barely risen over the small, dusty town when a bruised little girl stood alone at her front door, clutching her torn backpack. Her eyes were swollen, one side darkened by a fresh bruise, but what hurt more than the pain on her face was the emptiness in her heart. That morning she wasn't just walking to school, she was walking away from everything that had broken her spirit. Before we dive deeper into this heart-touching story, if you believe in kindness, compassion, and second chances, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us share more real stories that can change hearts. Her name was Emily, an 8-year-old girl from a quiet corner of Arizona. She had a smile that once could light up a room, but life had taught her that smiles were fragile things. Her mother worked 2 jobs just to keep a roof over their heads, and her father, well, he was more of a storm than a man. Every night his voice thundered through the walls, followed by crashes, screams, and the sound of tears that never seemed to end. Emily had learned to hide beneath her blanket, whispering to her stuffed bear that maybe tomorrow would be better. But it never was. One evening the shouting got worse. Her father came home angry, and when her mother tried to protect Emily, he struck out. Emily ran, clutching her teddy bear, but he found her cowering in the hallway. The next morning, with a black eye and a trembling lip, she walked to school alone, wearing her favorite faded denim jacket like a shield. At recess, the other kids stared. Some whispered, others laughed, but one boy older than her shouted, "Did your dad do that to you?" She didn't answer. She couldn't. The question felt like a wound reopening. She turned away, tears threatening to spill. That's when she saw them. 2 men in leather jackets standing near their motorcycles outside the chain-link fence, taking a break at a diner across the street. Their jackets read Hell's Angels, with a winged skull emblem shining in the sun. Something inside Emily stirred, not fear but curiosity. Those men looked tough, fearless, unbreakable. They were everything she wasn't. That afternoon, while walking home, she saw one of them again. The same biker from the diner, tall with a rugged face and kind eyes hidden behind dark shades. His name was Rick. He was wiping grease from his hands as Emily walked by slowly. Her heart was racing, but she stopped, turned and asked softly, Do you think someone like you could be a dad?" Rick froze. He looked down, seeing the bruise, the innocence and the sadness all tangled together in that little girl's eyes. "Where's your dad, kid?" he asked quietly. She hesitated, biting her lip. Then her small voice trembled as she said, "He hurts us. I just want a dad who doesn't hit." Her words cracked something deep inside him. Rick was no saint. He'd been through darkness himself, years of bad decisions, rough roads and lost people. But hearing that broke every wall he had. He knelt down and said, "You deserve better, little one, way better." Later that night, Rick called his brothers, the Hell's Angels chapter he'd ridden with for years. When he told them about Emily, the phone line went quiet. Then one of them said, "No kid should ever feel that alone." By morning, the roar of 50 motorcycles echoed down the highway leading into town. The next day, as Emily sat in her classroom, the rumble of engines grew louder and louder. Students looked out the windows, teachers froze mid-sentence, and even the principal stepped outside to see what was happening. 50 bikers in leather vests lined up outside the school gates. They weren't there to cause trouble, they were there for her. Rick stood in front, holding a small pink backpack that matched the one Emily had lost weeks ago during one of her father's drunken rages. He'd filled it with notebooks, snacks, and a teddy bear, wearing a tiny biker vest. When the bell rang, Emily stepped outside and froze. The same man she'd spoken to stood smiling at her, surrounded by a sea of brothers who had come just for her. Every student, teacher, and parent who saw that moment would never forget it. One little girl, standing small and fragile in front of a group of men society often misunderstood. Tattooed, rough, intimidating, but today they were her angels. Rick walked up, knelt, and said, "Hey kid, we heard you were looking for a dad. Well, turns out you've got a whole family now." Emily's lips quivered, and for the first time in a long time she smiled. Tears streamed down her cheeks as she hugged him tightly. The bikers clapped, cheered, and one by one, they each gave her a hug, a kind word, or a small gift, a bracelet, a patch, a flower from one man's pocket. News spread fast. Photos of the event went viral. Headlines read, "Hell's Angels show up to protect little girl with a black eye." But behind those headlines was something far more powerful, a story of redemption, brotherhood, and the kind of love that doesn't ask for anything in return. Rick and his biker brothers began visiting Emily's school every Friday. They'd sit with her at lunch, walk her home, and make sure she knew she was safe. Her classmates stopped teasing her. Instead, they admired her courage. Teachers noticed her grades improving, her smile returning. Even her mother, once fearful and broken, began to believe again that good men still existed. Emily's father, when confronted by the bikers, was no longer the bully who thought he ruled his family through fear. He was met with 50 men who didn't need words to send their message, "Touch her again and you'll answer to us." He packed his bags and never came back. Months passed, and the bond between Emily and Rick grew stronger. He taught her how to ride a small bike safely, brought her to charity events the Angels hosted for underprivileged kids, and even helped her mom find a better job. What started as an act of protection became a new kind of family, rough on the outside, pure-hearted within. Emily once told a reporter, "I asked for one dad, but I got 50. That line melted hearts around the world. Donations poured in for abused children's charities under her name, and Rick used the attention to spread awareness about child abuse, saying, "Sometimes the toughest people are the ones who choose to protect, not destroy." Years later, when Emily turned 18, she stood on a small stage at a biker rally, looking out at the same group of men who'd once shown up at her school. Her voice was strong, her smile bright. "I used to think angels had wings," she said. "Turns out they have motorcycles." The crowd erupted in applause, many wiping away tears behind their sunglasses. Her mother remarried a gentleman, her life stabilized, and Rick remained a part of their world. He wasn't her biological father, but in every way that mattered, he was her dad. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like this video, share it with others, and subscribe to our channel. There are still so many real-life angels out there who deserve to be known. Before we end, we'd love to hear from you in the comments. What does kindness mean to you? Tell us below. Your words might inspire someone who needs a reason to keep believing in good people. And as the sun sets on this story, picture that little girl, now grown, riding on the back of a Harley beside her guardian angels, the roar of their engines, echoing a promise that even in the darkest times, love will always find a way to show up.